didn't realize that you have an hour.
I don't think we need that, but I think these are relatively minor changes. This is Catherine's copy.
Okay. So on the garage and guest house, we have made a fairly minor change to the garage doors. We've changed the garage doors in the front, added 6 feet to the back of the guest house, extended it, and changed the railing. We had originally proposed a cable railing that matched what's on the house, but we've decided to change that since the children have gotten older and love to climb up the cable. So I'm gonna get rid of all of those railings. And so A20 and 21 just sort of show you the whole thing in context, and then there's blown up of what we're proposing.
Right. So
Okay, so you're saying these doors change?
Yeah, they were a little bit more traditional doors, and these are wood doors, and they have lights in them. But they're just a custom door that's a little less like a typical garage door. It's just, and
So the lights are like long, like
they're narrow.
windows?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yes.
okay.
okay, so
It's a little hard to see on the drawing.
It's a roller door.
It is a bifold door, so it's gonna
Bifold
fold
door.
up. And then you had asked for some more information about the transom over door 104.
Mm-hmm.
So, I have the cut sheets for the transom and the SDL bars. Just, there was a little bit of question about how thin it could get, and so this is the best we can do using the Marvin. And if you look at it on A21 with the steel window, it's similar. It's not gonna be necessarily as thin, but it's quite close to it. And the steel is actually a bit thicker, but since it's behind the panes of glass, it doesn't appear to be as thick.
Mm-hmm.
So, that's that. And I think that's really the only changes on the guest house and garage that we made.
Okay.
So the addition of the 6 feet, that has no, does that have any implications with any of the other boards or anything?
No,
That's all.
only like this portion right here of the guest house is in the front yard setback, but it's
Okay.
not in the side yard setback, the front yard, so it's way below the height that's maximum, and we, square footage, building or footprint on the site is a fraction of what it could be.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't think that it substantially changes the design of what we had previously approved, or the sort of aesthetics of what we previously approved.
I think it appears a little less squat, actually. I think it somewhat helps. It definitely helps programming inside. It's
Mhm.
not so tight, and I think the building keeps sort of that barn-like appearance that it had to it.
So the cupola on top is still in the same position that it was in?
The cupola, it's
Because now it's centered with the 6-foot addition. Was it centered before?
no, because it rests over the stair in plan.
Yeah, I recall that.
So, I think it actually shifts slightly, and the double doors shifted slightly, but now it wasn't centered before, so now it's more centered.
Okay.
So everything has shifted like a foot maybe to the west. the cupola and the set of double doors.
How long is that cantilever for the porch?
10 feet.
10 feet?
It's got a nice backspan on it.
And what is it? No, that's none of that, our business, and it just.
Because on A20 it says steel column beyond, see structural, so that's
This,
internal,
it's internal,
okay.
yeah.
And the garage is gonna be used as a garage.
It's gonna be used as a garage, and they'll use it, you know, as a space to do, you know, things with their kids in, you know, the usual, it's winter time, send them out there to run around and.
Yeah, I think that the doors are nicely designed, but obviously we have no precedent for anything similar to this before. Is the glass going to be clear, or is it gonna be tinted,
It'll
or
be clear,
it'll be
yeah,
totally clear?
yeah.
I think as long as it's clear, my only concern would be if it was like some sort of a darkened, you know, black gloss or something, it
Oh,
might
no.
get a little
No.
too futurismo, but I think it's a really nice design.
It's,
I think it's different, but I like to see different once in a while, you know, because we see kind of the same old all over.
Yeah, it's also, I mean, it's not unnecessarily historicist or anything, and but it's still subtle. Al, how do you feel about doors?
Well, the doors bother me, only because it's a very prominent location. I mean, this is where everybody who uses the train station walks up and down, and you know, we're talking about a building that probably dates back to the 30s or 40s, something like that. So I guess the appearance of it troubles me because it's, you know, especially it being a bifolded, well, you really can't tell when it's closed, but
the original door was probably a bifold as well. It was not a roll-up door, and it wasn't a carriage door, and it has a break in the middle, so I'm assuming it folded as well. It was an old, you know, I don't know if there's a picture of it, but
There's a
it
picture
was
of what was there right before you
pain.
changed it.
And that's sort of fake history there.
Right.
It
Well, that's what I was
never
gonna say. It's
had that
been
sort of-
The
changed
historic
so
photo that
many
we saw of
times.
this, it had much more glass on the doors, right?
It
And
had
it was,
bigger, it had more glass.
it looked like a mechanic's
It looked
garage
like a
door.
mechanic's garage,
Right.
which was
Which is what it was. Yeah.
So, I mean, the doors are somewhat based on a Alvar Aalto garage door of a similar period. So I think it does have that sort of 1930s, 1940s somewhat feel to it. It's wood, and it just, I think the repetition of the glass and the way the light comes in is really nice in the garage. And I think it's less,
I mean, what you have there right now is not the original door, because that was installed when Jamie Copeland redid it. So that really is not a precedent. It just, well, it bothers scares me a little bit. I would not, it strikes me, I guess the issue is that, you know, we have next to this, the real old building, and then it seems like there was just sort of a collection of different periods. Obviously, you've got 35 over here, which dates back to the 1800s. Then you have the garage, which looked like it was in the 30s, and then the guest house behind it, which was later than that. It seems like these garage doors lose or are not appropriate to a building of of this particular era. I mean, it just doesn't seem right, and
I think my concern is that the doors that would have been original to this garage and the historic picture that we saw of it, I think would be really inappropriate for a residential garage. They were way too commercial. And I think that the doors that are currently there they have a basis in somebody else's history, but not the actual history of the building. So it's like, I don't really know what I look at it like this. I don't really know what the appropriate doors for this would be. I don't think that you would want something that was super, you know, kind of off the rack and suburban. You wouldn't really want something that was very commercial, like a mechanic's garage. And you don't want something that makes it look like this faux carriage house that's older than the actual building was. So there really isn't a great thing to grasp onto. So I think if that's the scenario, then having something which is sort of wholly unique and custom to the building is not a bad direction to go in.
And I like to see a new form, you know, because we get into these, I think, ruts a bit of trying to make something look sort of historic, or we try to say, oh, we have to give a nod to industrial because of the foundry. And, you know, we can't, you know, have everything in either, we can't have the types of doors that have been proposed, but in some cases, which are like all glass panes, to look as if they're the type of door you would have almost on a car dealership.
Yeah.
You know, and just, you know, different tones of frosted glass going, you know, really opaque at the bottom and clearer at the top, which is also kind of, you know, that's kind of gotten same old too. You know, I like to see something new once in a while
I
that,
think this
you know,
is
it's
subtle.
wood, it's
Mhm.
painted wood.
well, I don't know why we're talking about all glass doors. I mean, I don't see that.
They've been proposed on a number of our projects already.
Well, I'm saying that because in the only historic picture that we have of the garage, it
was probably like a 9 square grid, and
Yeah,
the top
it
3
had
were glass,
glass.
or it was a 12
Okay, well,
square.
yeah.
not all glass,
4.
but lots of glass.
It had, but
Right.
less glass than those carriage type doors had.
Well, but again, the carriage type doors, when Jamie proposed his, this revision, they were converting the garage from a garage to a residence, because that's what it was.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, that was strictly, you know, something which, you know, okay, fine, it was not attempted as a garage door, not, as a matter of fact, I've never seen them open, as far as I can
We
tell.
don't open.
Yeah, I don't think they're
We do not
operable.
You know, the way that you got in was through the man door.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't have a problem with this design because I agree with Sean. It does bridge the gap between the industrial heritage and its present use as a residential property. I appreciate that these bays were not disturbed, that they weren't shrunken or, reproportioned at some point. You can still see the history of what this thing was, in its structure. The structure itself has been maintained. These 3 bays are still openings that you can see. I think it would be inauthentic to, I mean, what other options do we have to recreate a 1930s style garage door? I mean, these doors have been changed so many times. I would rather see something that's living in its time and authentic to itself and still respecting the proportions of the structure than to have something here that, is a recreation or a duplicate, a reconstruction of something that's no longer there.
I mean, what you had previously approved was not a carriage door at all, but it looked, I thought, too suburban for.
I was trying to find the picture. I don't
Market
even
Street.
remember what you
It
proposed.
should, oh,
I don't know, maybe
Well,
you know
Well,
it's
because
better than I
that's
do.
the
And I'll find it.
35, we don't have any of the 31 materials, that's the,
Oh,
this
is
is the
it? Okay.
35
Okay,
one.
that's
maybe
fine.
you can
All right.
find it.
Never
The
mind.
31 is
But
all.
they were they were nice wood doors that had 3 lights that were divided above
Mhm.
them, which is, what you see as a wood garage door.
Right.
It was a garage
Mhm.
door.
So
But
that's right.
I
Hmm.
kind of feel like you don't wanna have that on Market Street. It felt too suburban there, and it's right at the street, so it
It's a
needed to
privacy
be-
issue too. I mean, there's people
Yeah, and
constantly walking
I'm
past it.
sympathetic to that, because
Yeah.
this is, it's a pretty prominent location where, for people to be
People-
standing around waiting for a train.
Next door in the cottage building, you have all those verticals with the batten, and this
Mhm.
kind of, mimics that in a way,
Mhm.
not mimics, but sort of,
Relates to it.
relates to it in some way.
I'm still not convinced, but let's go through all of the changes and then, okay. Does anybody have any problem with change? We'll start at the back with a change from cable stay to picket fence on the porch.
Well, it's a wood rail on the top, right?
It's wood, and it has tapered cast balusters that will be a dark oil rubbed bronze.
Mhm.
I don't really have an opposition to it, and actually I think with the addition of that 6 feet, it becomes that much more out of the public view, because I mean, it's getting pushed
Yeah.
so much further back onto the lot, other than obviously if you're on the river.
So does anybody have any objection to that?
No.
No.
All right, how about and tell me if I miss anything,
Yeah,
right? The 6-foot addition, anybody have a problem with that?
No.
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 Okay, how about the door, the
transom,
transom
yeah.
over the door?
No.
No.
Okay, so I don't think anybody has any objections except for me on the garage doors. So, with that, what I'll do is I'll call for a vote on the application as submitted. Are there any other changes that we,
on this one?
Yeah.
No, the other one is just a
Right,
minor change to
third.
the cottage, yeah.
Is that kitchen exhaust, was that on the original plan? I'm just seeing it now.
I believe so.
Okay. I just didn't know if it was being called out because it was something new, or
Where do you see the kitchen exhaust? at?
there's like this,
It's
just
right
right
up-
here behind
It's
the
right
cupola.
up there.
Oh,
okay, so, do I have a motion on the application for 31 Market Street as submitted?
I will move to accept as submitted.
I'll second it.
Okay, Sean,
Aye.
Carolyn,
Aye.
Andrea?
Aye.
All right, and I'll say no because of the garage doors, so.
Okay.
I think that they're not appropriate. So let's go to 35 Main Street, 3rd Market Street.
Okay, so, again, there's the first showing the overall, and what we had done when we were detailing the brick is to add, a sill and lentil, because it didn't have one to begin with, and we were kind of just matching what was there. But to put steel in there for a lintel, we don't really have that much space. It doesn't really, it seems like you would actually have had stone at the time, so we're proposing a bluestone sill and lintel in the brick,
You're talking about on the south elevation.
on the south elevation, so that's the change. Instead, they had actually no sills or lintels. So, and as we were detailing, we were thinking, well, we don't have to follow every bad portion of the brick here. Why don't we actually do it like, as one would probably normally have done it? And so the 5 just shows it in a larger scale, and the number 6 shows it in section.
Does anybody have any questions or comments?
I think it's the appropriate way to build a window.
Yeah.
And the only other thing you could do would be have, the soldiered brick on top and then
Yeah.
the stone lintel on the bottom, but
But even though with the soldier brick, you still need a lintel,
Yeah.
steel lintel.
Still
you
has
need
to sit on
something to
stone.
hold it,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Okay, so do I have a motion concerning the addition of lintel and sills on the south facade?
I'll move that.
I
Second?
will second that.
Okay, Andrea?
Aye.
Sean?
Aye.
Carolyn?
Aye,
And I vote aye. Okay,
I'm sorry, who moved?
I moved.
Okay.
I seconded.
And then just one final thing. There are portions of the guest house which we will have to rebuild that we didn't necessarily think we would have to. But, this is what, like, some of the walls look like. That the original structure has been removed. So like a section of the first floor, we're gonna have to rebuild. And I'm just telling you this because, there's literally no structure there. They just cut through, this was sort of, I'm just informing you that it's gonna.
Which way is up?
Exactly.
That's up.
Just
That's
a
up.
mess of insulation and sheetrock.
okay, and since
Great
it's
sheetrock job,
interior,
yeah.
it really doesn't.
It doesn't matter. Well, the exterior, it's gonna,
Yeah, but
it's new siding.
Is that a
Anyway,
repair in kind?
It's a repair in kind, but I
Okay.
just wanted to be very
Okay.
upfront about it, but,
Good out.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay, and so this is the cut on the transom. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
That's it.
Cool. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Obviously, if you discover anything else, keep it posted.
Yeah.
In that wall.
Okay.
Alright, there's a
Gold
Third
doubloons
copy.
or something
In
like
case I make a
that.
mistake,
yeah.
hang
Do
on
you
to
want
that one.
Kathleen's?
No,
Just give it to her.
yeah, because I only need 3 and I wanted to
Right.
throw the other ones away. So-
Okay.
But at least this way we have one.
Got it.
Okay. Next. 5 Ferris Street.
Good evening.
Hi.
How are you? Hey.
15 minutes early.
I know.
Oh, you're lucky.
This is
You
always
might
good.
want these, the reduced
Right.
versions of the plans.
Just give my last minute instructions to be in bed for state testing tomorrow.
no.
No staying up past 9.
Alright. This is the full size in case you wanna look at anything in more detail.
And Kathy met with you last time. She's unfortunately in St. Louis on work business tonight, so.
I'm sure St. Louis is lovely. I don't think that's unfortunate.
It's probably warmer than here.
She said it's getting out. She was in the,
I
it was
think
like,
it's
the weather that's
raining,
coming here is
isn't it?
warm, it's like in the 70s.
Right, that's what I
Yay.
heard. Yeah. This is an addition in the back of the house.
Okay, I have my own copy.
So we are doing.
There's a single-story kitchen on the first floor that we're basically building above
Right.
and making
then
it
adding.
making it a 2-story addition, extension of the shape of the house
Right.
by about 10 feet.
So we need to do seeker,
Right.
which we didn't do last time, and then determination of readiness for public hearing. That is the point.
Okay, do I have a motion concerning secret?
Modification to a single-family home, I would recommend that this be declared type 2 under secret.
A second?
I will second that.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, that out of the way. I'll let everybody take a minute to look and see if they have any questions. What kind of shingles are these?
Cedar shingles, they are squared, R&R, of 18-inch long shingles.
Cedar shingles,
Cedar shingles, yeah.
okay.
They maintain the louvers.
The house has cedar shingles now?
Yes. So the trim on the windows stays true to the existing ones. They've replaced windows, how long ago?
We
10
did
years
it,
ago?
was the day Jack was born, was the day I was here, so 13 years ago, we came for you for the, I wanna say the upper floor, and then the year later, we came to you for approval for the second floor, so they're both every window in the house matches.
And so the Bilco door that was of such interest to the ZBA is actually not visible from the street, is it?
That
It's
is
behind-
correct.
It's tucked behind
the
that,
porch,
that
yes.
little porch, right?
You heard about the ZBA, no?
It's in the newspaper.
That was, is it in this week's?
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah, I find the Bilko doors to be one of the ugliest features of any, so, it's like, where do we
Sometimes
put this?
unavoidable.
I don't even want to see it, even, I don't have to look at the back.
But you know something, they're kind of so ubiquitous that you sort
Yeah.
of don't notice them. It's like having a, you know, the propane tank outside your house. Everybody's got a propane tank, so you know,
Right.
you kind of
Yeah.
don't notice it after a while.
Yeah.
Am I correct that all of the new windows, there are three new windows in the existing structure?
There are,
Are these new?
there's 1, 2, 3,
No,
Oh,
in
in
the
existing.
existing.
1, 2, 3.
Okay.
But this counts still as an existing, so the 3 in the existing. And 1 downstairs, right? 4,
Yeah,
So these two
correct,
and this one, but on the
Those are
elevation,
existing.
those are existing.
correct.
mhm.
They are the
So
south side.
there's only three.
True,
And all of the other ones,
but,
It's upstairs.
yeah.
1, 2, 3.
Yes, correct.
Yeah, two on the
Yes.
on the first floor, or on the second floor,
Yes,
and one on the first.
correct.
One thing that we had talked about, on Sunday was the,
Mm-hmm.
the straight expansion without any differentiation between the old and the new. I still don't really have a problem with it. It's just under 10 feet. It's 9 feet 11. And in a way, the positioning of the leader where it is does kind of
Mhm.
break up that sheer wall. And also too, I think that there's a bit of a I think the fact that it's shingle and not clapboard
was
kind
about
of
to say the
disrupts
same.
it as well. I don't know why I was remembering it
Because
being
it's not,
clapboard,
it breaks
you know?
up the like,
Yeah, I kept remembering it being clapboard too, I don't know why.
Yeah.
but
Well,
It has
the
an excellent paint job
the-
if we're all remembering
yeah,
it
the,
being
yeah, the
clapboard.
shingles help to break up the, and I know this is, like, I remember talking about the continued, this was an issue in my own house's design. There was too much, like, the board and batten, and then the clapper
Mhm.
going this way, and, you know, breaking it up. But, I mean, that issue was that there were many horizontal and vertical lines. And, you know, the nice thing about the shingle is that you don't have to, you know, it breaks up those lines naturally. So,
Right,
you know,
yeah.
it creates a lot of shadow effect too. So I'm
It is
not,
more of a texture.
yeah, it's not like a
Right.
big flat plane.
I think that by insetting it, I mean, even with the corner borders, I just think it's going to draw more attention to
Yeah.
it as being an addition instead of just
It's not a huge addition.
partic-
No.
just a sort of spontaneously larger than normal house, you know?
Well, and it's in the back part of the house.
Yeah, I'm not concerned about it.
We're having this discussion because there are a lot of houses in Cold Spring, obviously, we have very limited space. So you see the facade of the building and then you have to build back because there's no setback on either side, right? So we have a lot of houses that go, you know, back like this, and so you know it's something we've been discussing in the update of our design standards. So this discussions come up a few times how to deal with, you know, breaking up, you know, respecting the original structure of the house, the original mass, and then introducing an addition off the back.
And the south side has that wall from La Bouchon's, which like kind of rises up to the windows, the
Oh
that
yeah.
kind of
There's a
thing. So it
picture
creates
actually.
like
It's always so
You can see that
yeah.
the wall is,
Oh, yeah,
the wall is
yeah.
about almost 8 feet high
Mhm.
probably. So you can see, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to block the camera.
The camera won't pick it up.
So you can already see on the story and a half,
Yeah.
you know, from basically from the middle of the windows.
Yeah.
So the volume as it shows on the elevation is much bigger than actually in reality.
Mm-hmm.
You guys see there's a lot of breakup. And then so basically this is the single story
Right.
wall, and then this line is going to continue up to
Yeah.
that point,
Mm-hmm.
and the roof
Yeah.
extends out that
What
way.
kind of gutters do you have on this?
Those are Yankee guys.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's what I thought it
and
said.
I'll
Yeah.
tell you about shadows. I've painted that south side of the house. If you don't get it done before 12 in the afternoon, like try to do that in the afternoon. You're like, is that paint or not?
God.
It gets bright.
Well, in the afternoon you
Yeah.
get so many
Yeah.
shadows.
Yeah.
It's hard
Yeah.
to tell.
Yeah, I think this is an example of an addition where
Mm-hmm.
drawing less attention to it is going to
Yeah.
make it seem more natural and literally seamless.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think the shingles have a lot to do with it.
And what is currently the brick? Okay, so your brick
It's a
is
painted brick.
painted. Okay, and you would
Yeah.
intend to do that on the addition as well?
Correct.
Yeah, it's in the drawing.
Just to give the texture to.
Mhm.
I mean,
So brick veneer.
it's a full 4-inch brick veneer.
Okay.
So they're loose tiles
Yeah, they're loose tiles.
that are laid like.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, not tiles; they're 4-inch thick.
Oh, they're 4 Oh, I see. I
It's a
see.
full bed.
So it's a full brick face.
bed. Yeah.
Mhm.
The tile is susceptible to freezing and thawing and
Right.
spalling in,
Mhm.
in contact with the ground. If you
Mhm.
do it on a chimney up high, it's probably going to survive. But here you're going to have a lot of freezing and a lot of snow and water,
Snow building.
and it's
Mhm.
going to damage the veneer.
Good. Okay. Do we want to talk lattice?
Well, I guess the question is, yeah, do we feel that there's a need for a public hearing?
I don't, but I think everyone else does.
I think as a sort of a normal procedure, if we have something which is, I mean, this is not an insignificant addition or a small change. I think we should have a public hearing.
I'm trying to think of other additions that we've required public hearings for. I think just about
Almost everyone.
everyone.
Mm.
So just for, you know, the sake of consistency and fairness, since no one wants to talk lattice, I'm just gonna point out. I'm just gonna point out that they're matching the existing lattice on the front, which is apparently
But the lattice back here,
diagonal.
I don't think you can even see that lattice from the street on the addition, on the
It's
addition.
so
porch.
minor, so I just wanna
It's so far back and
make
it's
the point that
back there.
I don't.
But I think that it was actually, can I see the
Sure.
photos of the?
I think it's
Yeah,
on
that's
on
the
the
way it is.
side
Oh, it is
porch.
hung diagonal, okay. I thought that Kathy had said that it was actually just rendering that way. Yeah, I mean, it's, you can't see it from,
And I believe she just came to you guys for that, like
Mhm.
2 years ago when we did the fence. Did the fence in front of the house, and the lattice work was
Yeah, I
part
think
on the
that was
front
something
porch
like
was
that.
just replaced.
cool.
So, question is that, public hearing, yes or no?
I think,
Yes.
I think yes.
Sure.
I think, okay, I agree. Okay, do we feel that we have enough information or there's enough here for a public hearing?
I do.
I think just for the public hearing, we would need the cut sheet on the,
On the windows?
And the
on the
windows,
windows and the
definitely.
new rear door.
Well, that rear door ain't gonna be visible from any place. You can
Wow.
hardly see from the other street, you can just see up here.
From, Stone Street?
Yeah, Kathy took a picture in here for you.
Yeah, from Stone Street, you can see like the edges of the building here.
There's the other picture from the back, right?
You could hardly see the
It's in here
pergola
somewhere.
at all.
Is
Oh,
that,
here it is, here it is. This is, you see
that-
you see the top window in Jack's room on the second floor, so that would be the northwest
this is-
corner.
this is
That's what you
section
see
that-
from Stone
Mhm.
Street.
Which is this corner.
Correct, right.
Right.
all right, but I guess the door, a solid wood door,
Mm-hmm.
all right, so,
You can certainly.
yeah, a
consolidate
cut on that,
Yeah,
and the windows.
the windows are actually listed and described in fair amount of detail. There's a whole spec page or table,
Mhm.
which I think describes every
Oh, yeah.
aspect of the window. This is taken from the manufacturer's information. So the shear has several.
Okay, it says exterior finish white. Is it clad? Is this a clad window?
It's wood window.
Yeah, it says
But is-
interior species pine.
I know, yeah, but is it, is it a clad wood window? In other words, what's the exterior coating?
It's wood.
It's painted wood.
Well, it doesn't say that. I mean, for the interior, it's primed, which indicates it's painted.
Right.
Right, so I'm asking, is it
Yeah,
gonna
but
be
Yeah,
delivered?
it's aluminum. So
Aluminum.
Yeah, because that's what's there. That's what we
It's-
have.
it's
That's what we
aluminum.
have.
Okay,
so it
approval
matches
for
all
the
of the
fence,
other
yes.
correct. Yeah, my bad.
Okay,
Freaking me out. I'm thinking I
I
don't
know,
want to
yeah,
paint
yeah.
those windows. I do all that painting. I've done all.
They used to make wood exterior.
All right, this information's good, but, you know, wouldn't like to have a cut
Sure.
as part of the application.
We just ask everyone else to do it.
And I guess there's no new leaders, but the gutter that is, but you said it was a Yankee gutter.
Mhm.
mhm.
Okay.
So it's built as part of the roof,
It's, yeah, it's part
and
of it.
then you just have the trim and the drip edge on the side, on the other
Okay.
side.
So,
And you're just matching the existing trim.
yeah. Anything else that we would want for the public hearing?
Are there any new lighting fixtures being added anywhere here? that would be visible from,
Well, the back is a pergola,
Would
so
you wanna,
probably
when you
wouldn't.
have a light fixture above the, or next to the door in the back of the kitchen?
There's one there now.
Right.
yeah,
Oh, I
but
think
that's,
So should-
that's then just like the door, it's not
I
gonna be
think
visible.
Kathy said that you were salvaging that and keeping it.
Yes.
Yeah,
I'm not a big light person. I like my stars.
fair enough.
You like it dark?
I like my stars.
Is there a dark sky ordinance in Cold Spring?
Some
Well,
parts.
they redid really nice lighting down at the dock. This used to be the overhead
Yeah.
highlight.
It's actually not an ordinance, it's in the comprehensive plan as a
Okay.
goal, but not a.
Right, right.
Okay, in order to meet the requirement, because we've got we already have a public hearing on the 25th. So if we publish it this weekend, we should be able to meet the public notice requirements, right?
So we'd have two public hearings on the 25th and the Boulevard item. Those would be the only three items that'd be a voting session, obviously, if it's a public hearing.
But the 20 Boulevard is just to vote to,
It's to review the part 3,
Right, because we have to review the part 3 and we have to accept the part 3
right,
before we go to a public hearing on 20.
on 20 Boulevard, okay, that's what it is.
and then we have to determine that it's complete or,
And what's the other public hearing we're doing?
7 Fair
Um,
Street.
no, the other one is, Judith Rose's husband's studio on
Mhm.
Keppel.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
isn't that 7 Fair Street?
No, 7 Fair Street is,
No,
No,
Ken's
this is
next
5
door.
Fair Street, yeah.
This is 5 Fair Street.
Like,
Uh,
why is he
whatever.
coming back?
It's,
That's
not
9 Marion Avenue.
No,
Marion
okay,
Avenue, not
okay.
Furnace, right?
Okay,
All right,
I think it would be fine to do it, I think it would be fine to do them both on that day if it would,
On the 25th.
on the 25th, if we could do them before we do the secret review. Is that possible?
What?
Before we do the EAF review, I think this will take less time.
Yeah. Do all the public hearings first.
Yeah.
Okay, so, by consensus, we're gonna have a public hearing on the 25th. Just to remind you, talk with the village clerk, because you have to send out notifications to the adjoining properties,
So the same ones that were for the zoning board?
ZBA,
probably, yeah. So,
they know what which properties have to be notified for your purposes with the public hearing.
Well, if it's the same ones for the ZBA, you already did that, right?
We did that.
Yes, we
right.
did.
No, but for the public hearing.
So we have to do it again for
for this,
okay.
For this
Yeah.
public hearing.
Excellent.
yeah, you send a return receipt
Correct.
letter notification. And typically what happens is that the village clerk will be publishing the public notice in the paper, so usually you just send that to the adjoining
Oh.
properties. All right?
Sounds good.
Otherwise, anybody have any comments or anything?
Mm-mm.
I think it's lovely.
I think it's fine.
Well
It
prepared.
wasn't my comment. I said,
think
Kathy,
it
you sure we don't wanna buy a new car and go to Hawaii?
I think you gals get it, I mean, it's, you know.
I mean, I think it's a totally
Thank you.
sensitive
Yeah.
and probably quite necessary addition.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, little teensy houses in the village.
Okay.
My only problem is that I won't be here, but you guys can
Okay.
handle it. But
Okay.
I'll be
Thank
in
you.
India.
India? Oh, wow.
Oh, I just got back from India.
Yeah? Yeah. How was it?
Popular place.
Wow.
That's what I expect. Yeah.
Where are you going?
I'm going to an Indian wedding.
Oh, fun.
In Goa.
Beautiful.
Yeah. First in
Awesome.
Mumbai and then Goa.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Goa's the best.
Uh-huh.
Very nice.
All right.
Well, normally we don't have a huge turnout. This is not a,
It's not really
Contentious.
contentious.
Yeah.
You're lucky if anyone shows up.
Mhm.
You know everything inside and out, so
Yeah.
it'll be fine.
So he's teased Maggie. I said, you've had this little bedroom for the first 12 years of your life. And I said, it's quite ironic that you want to go to the Naval Academy. I said,
Oh, no.
so when you go to the Naval Academy, you end up on a ship someday, you'd be like, I feel like I was in my childhood bedroom.
Worse if you're on a submarine, right?
She said, no way. She wants to be a lawyer. That's her, her thing. She wants to be a lawyer. Yeah,
So
she
it's
wants
Navy
to.
Jags.
Oh, yes.
Wait, she's going to Annapolis?
She wants to go. She's only 12, but she's one of these kids.
Oh,
that, like,
oh,
she's got the map.
jeez.
She has the map.
Yeah.
Going to Annapolis, then I'm going to the Ivy League to law school, and then I'm going to work on Capitol Hill. It's like Sean Patrick better watch out.
If you go to Annapolis, when you graduate, you must serve for how many years?
4.
5.
I was a West Pointer, so it's kind of
Oh,
like
wow.
in the blood. She says, will you ever root for Navy? I said, the day that you walk through that door, I will get rid of all my Army stuff, and I will wear Navy stuff. Well, thank you all very much.
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
Wait,
And,
Al, I have 4 copies here.
So
Do
as
you want
far
more
as the
copies?
window specs, should we
Just the
forward
catalog.
them or should bring them in?
Yeah.
Just bring them in,
Okay.
because
Yeah,
ultimately, that and the spec, catalog cut on the door,
Right.
it's all part of the application, so,
Yep.
and the certificate of preference.
I don't usually do this, so what am I doing? I'm putting 3
Did
copies.
we have to vote?
No,
Do
no,
we
we're-
have to vote for,
Public hearing?
no, but vote for the determination of completeness? We don't do that, do we? No, we
No.
don't.
No.
just hang on to it, put it in the file, and then,
Or we
well,
can bring it next time.
I can put it in here.
Okay.
Why waste the paper?
yeah.
No, we don't want to print more.
Yeah.
We've wasted enough.
We've been
paper.
asking for this size because our files were
Yeah, and
exploding
Right.
with
that's all we
prints.
need for the public
Yeah.
hearing. is that
Okay.
board.
Yeah,
Right,
bring that,
okay.
definitely. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I guess whoever's coming should bring the board so
Oh,
that,
absolutely.
You'll bring the board.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
but otherwise for the certificate of appropriateness, it's the 11 by 17.
Got it.
Okay.
Great, okay.
Is
Thank you
Stone-
very much.
Is
Thank
Stone
you.
Street supposed to show?
They are. They said they were going
They said
to.
they were, so.
They are going to?
Or we told them.
Well,
we weren't
except-
going.
Except, there was a letter, there was an email saying
Yeah, there was
we're
an
not
email.
for
I'll
Stone
be right
Street
back.
or for Furnace Street.
That was different.
For Stone.
That was
That
an
was-
email to Aaron from 4 Furnace Street, where Kathleen
But-
accidentally referred to them as.
It's medication.
No, that was a different email. But
No, that was for Stone Street, was
Oh,
the
it was?
medication, yes.
she was referring to Furnace Street as Stone Street, and so Bruce, is that his name?
Don't know.
Corrected her.
If I skip out early, does anybody mind because you still have quorum? My cat is very ill. Not that bad.
Well,
Not at all, but since we are gonna have a couple of minutes before these people show up, do we wanna just look at the calendar for, design standards workshop day? I think the 18th, which would be just next Wednesday, is seeming to work for everybody, so we feel.
Yeah, it works for me, I'm tired of it.
the 18th,
Yeah, it's just next Wednesday.
I was hoping for a week off. Not
Well,
that
if you retired, you'd
Yeah,
have
you-
a lot of
I'd
time.
have more than a week off, I'd have many weeks off.
Yeah.
That's right, you'd be a gentleman of leisure.
Yeah, sure.
Send your wife to work, she's probably bored.
She's
Can
the
you
one.
do,
No, she's quite
next
busy.
Wednesday for
Oh.
our next design standard review?
Next Wednesday, the 18th.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
Great.
When are we meeting?
We're meeting on the 25th. Oh, wait.
Like
what
what time? Yeah,
on
sorry.
the 18th?
Can
I think it's always nice when we can start at 7:30 and then Al shows up whenever he shows up.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm scooting.
Okay. Good luck.
Wait, so I'm sorry, I raced off to the bathroom. Did we determine what's going on for Stone Street?
They are supposed to be coming, I
Okay.
believe. But
9:20.
Kathleen told them that they weren't on the agenda until 9:20.
Oh,
So I guess whomever shows up first between Four Stone and
Would
Blue
we like to-
Furnace-
could we do board business in the meantime?
Well, that was the only board business. Oh, we have minutes?
Minutes.
Yeah.
Do we want to discuss minutes? everyone's favorite activity?
Well, I guess the question more than anything else, I still have these from, okay,
Hi.
I still have these from,
Oh, no,
So-
I have to write those, yeah, I'm finishing that up.
okay.
Yeah.
So you got notes from somebody?
I got notes, if I have questions, I'll email everyone, but so far so good.
Okay, so you'll send out a draft and we'll jump in with
Yeah,
our.
I wanted to get that other big
isn't
batch
nice.
out of the way first and then revisit that.
Okay.
And I got your comments and
Yes.
edits.
And Sean, where are your comments and edits on the ones that,
My comments and edits from which set? Let me just.
Oh, God,
there was something like six sets?
there were a bunch of them, just the most recent. I decided not to
321?
print them out. That sounds accurate, yeah.
Yeah. I don't get any comments on the channels for you.
Al found some typos and,
This was from like
Couple of disconnects.
yeah,
right before I went away.
right, I knew you'd be away, so. Oh, you know what, Sean? I have, hard copies here.
No, that's fine. I have them
Are
already.
you sure?
Yep.
It's a tiny screen.
Keeps me young. There was one thing.
Do we have the, escrow invoice?
Oh, you're looking for correspondence?
Yeah, let me get those out of the way.
Never mind, I left my hard copies at home.
No.
I was gonna compare it to whatever you had to say, but. Correspondence? Hold on.
The bills, we gotta pay the bills.
Mhm.
Okay, as far as correspondence, we have a letter from, Beatty and Watson concerning the storm water analysis. Anybody wanna see that?
For 126?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Is there anything interesting in it? I mean, I think the
I don't find
stormwater-
stormwater analysis
I
interesting, so I
know,
didn't
I
even
don't.
try.
Isn't that going into
unless
the-
there's a mudslide, you know.
That's gonna be part of the EAF, right?
Well, no, it went to Matt Francisco because I think he was the one that
Oh,
raised the issue to
right.
begin with. Okay, and this is a voucher. This is John First
To pay?
to pay. And we owe John a lot of money. No wonder he stopped coming.
You owe him a lot of money.
Today is the 11th, right?
Is it all seeker related?
Yeah.
So it's all escrow?
Yep.
Covered? Do we owe him any money independent of that, or out of our budget?
No, this has to do with, the Krupps.
Mm-hmm, okay.
Okay, and then we have an invoice from AKRF concerning their oh man, all sorts of bills. This is a bill from January. This is a bill from, and this has to do with 126, 35 Market.
Ooh, I hear people.
I hear somebody at the door.
Good.
And this is 35 Market Street.
Hello.
Oh, hi.
Hi,
Hi.
we're ready for you.
The rest of our business wrapped up a little early, so.
Oh, I'm sorry. I-
sorry.
No, this
We
is
thought we
great.
were early.
We
We're not.
opened our mail,
Wonderful.
paying your bills.
And PCNR.
Have you been waiting long?
No, we had some people leave and,
All right.
I know Kathleen told you guys 9:20, so this is great.
Yeah, we thought we were doing good.
No, this is wonderful.
Can I give you a minute comment?
Yes.
So on the 124 meeting about the arch,
124, arch.
I would just add that to the last point, it says, board members disagreed citing a arch as a historic artifact. It's not just a historic artifact, which is obviously very important, but it's also that the like safe and continued display of the arch was
Part of the.
part of the agreement that we made
Yeah, the
years ago. Like,
Okay.
no,
we're not just being sticklers for the point of being sticklers.
Okay,
it's
so
that
wait, you said that nicely. Safe and continued,
safe and perpetual display of
perpetual
the
display.
arch. What, I mean, it's something that
Mm-hmm.
kind of is one of those things that needs to be continually reiterated, that it's like, you
Right.
said you were gonna do this, and we
Because
expect
it
you
was
to
part of
do
the
what you say
agreement.
you were gonna do. Colossal question.
Is it part of
It's part
the
of,
lease? No, it was part of the.
I actually don't know.
It
It's
was
part
part
of
of,
the-
part of the conditions for the approval of the demolition.
Which I guess would make it part of the conditions of the certificate of appropriateness for the,
Yeah, well, it was the certificate of
see that.
appropriateness for the
For the
demolition.
Okay, so both of those things. Okay.
Well, it was part of the conditions for the approval of the certificate of appropriateness.
Yeah, I have so
'Cause
both,
it wasn't
both the
a-
conditions of the approval of the demolition, then the certificate of authenticity.
No, certificate of.
They were the
appro-
same.
Yeah, it was the
Right.
same.
Yeah.
Well,
It's like
and-
126 me.
it was the
well,
certificate
there
of
were two-
appropriateness for the demolition
Demolition.
of the
Right.
building,
Yeah.
not the certificate of appropriateness for the new construction,
Right.
Right.
just for the demolition.
Yeah, for the demolition.
Right.
Right.
But they didn't do, that wasn't a secret thing, it was just our normalcy of it.
Right.
Cool, that was my comment.
No, I think that's important. To keep rewriting that. 'Cause we saw what happened to the Copper Beach.
Keep reminding everybody.
They kill things.
Ready?
I'm Ryan.
Hi, Ryan, Sean.
Sean,
Good
nice
see
to
you.
meet you.
Erica,
Erica, hi.
we missed you last time.
You missed me?
Sean was
We
on a
came-
voyage through India.
Oh, just
Ah,
last week.
we were at the
right.
workshop, yeah, a couple weeks ago.
Right.
Well, welcome back.
Thanks for having me.
That was it for Manso?
That was it. I mean, I could talk about the sign at General Store, but I don't want
Okay,
You can always email me
to. No.
if you're
that's-
bored. You can talk signage.
people can watch
show
the
us what
videos
you
if they want to.
are applying for now.
Do you have all the do you have the copies?
I
Oh,
have them here. Sorry, I'm taking them out now. No, it's
Is it easier if we project?
No, it's fine.
Okay.
We've
Because
got
we
like
have it.
That's
we've got
right,
a
Leslie.
pile of
Yeah.
files
we have
here.
projected.
I just,
we can, I don't wanna bore you guys, I just wanna just very briefly for you, just go through kind of the history of the house.
It's okay, we bore everyone. Sean wasn't here, so.
Fill them in.
Yeah.
Well, I was here when you
It's interesting.
came before you bought it.
Yes, yes. So, just really quickly, just I'm on this slide here, brief history of the house, 1867, we can see, this is the first photograph of the house. I think the house was built in the 1840s. 1867, you can see there's a couple things here. There's a gingerbread porch on the front, and there are shutters. 1890 is you can see the more detail of the wood sawn balustrades and the porch that was on there, and you can see a little detail of the louvered shutters. 1960s, the shutters are gone.
The porch is gone.
The porch is gone. 2010, porch has been replaced by this cinder block and wrought iron stoop. And the shutters, the original shutters are back on. We purchased the house and the shutters were unfortunately gone for good. The previous owner threw them out, which was really kind of upsetting to find out. 2018, we've done some pretty extensive restoration of the brick using some chemical testing to match the mortar, and restoration of all of our original windows using period glass to replace any modern glass. So really, some big undertakings. At the point there being that we care a lot about preservation, and it's important to us to preserve. Just so here's what we're discussing today. These are all the kind of hit points here. We're discussing the stoop, its railing, the entryway, including the door, the shutters, and then just some odd and end windows, the dormer window and the basement window and an attic window. This here is just to show that we did consider building the porch back onto kind of its original look, but decided that we just didn't have, we really didn't have enough space or variance from the street, and the porch being removed when Stone Street was expanded is something that happened to the house. It was something that happened in its history, and so I think we have found some ways to basically the face of the house is gone. A lot of the original detail and the face of the house is missing. So so today we're going to be discussing these elements.
Today.
We've got a view here of the what we're doing.
With shutters.
So we can.
Okay. You've started now on what you delivered today.
Yes.
Yeah, I've got all the details. I've got. We can go one
And
by.
all the details are within here.
Yeah, so we can go one by one through each project.
Okay.
So starting with the stoop. This is this one.
Okay.
We're looking at this.
Let me flip to
Front
that
stoop
page.
restoration.
So what we're going to be doing is encasing or tiling the cement stoop, the cinder block stoop. We discussed this last week. We explored demoing it all together and rebuilding it, but there are some challenges there with the foundation going onto village property, and the stoop itself potentially being attached to our foundation and to our facade. So our brick mason has actually recommended that we do a tile or a veneer of brick and then a bluestone surface. There are a number of examples of brick and bluestone capped stoops throughout town. We think this will be a nice look. We've actually had him do some veneer work where he actually will cut a piece of brick down to 1.5 inches or 2 inches of thickness, put a wire mesh, encase it in a wire mesh, and then mortar it to the surface. So we've got the details here of all the materials being used. We're going to use salvage brick. We'll match the mortar to the house using kind of traditional mortar methods, limestone mortar, and we'll salvage the bluestone as well, so that it's all kind of antique. So we think this is kind of a good workaround to kind of get rid of that cylinder
Yeah.
look.
Mhm.
And so we have a diagram on the left of just how he plans to do this. It's not exactly the materials, but it's just kind of the process for how you would tile or encase the current stoop. Does that make sense?
Okay.
Okay.
Well, I guess the question is that, has the existing steps have a nosing, is he gonna cut back the nosing?
Yeah, that's a really good question. He's gonna have to I think he's gonna have to cut back the nosing, and I think he's gonna have to get creative with the height of the stairs, because when you add 2 inches on top, that's gonna create a.
So he's not removing the tread.
He's not planning on removing the tread, no. He's planning to add the bluestone on top, directly on top. But there may have to be some slight adjustments to deal with the height of the stairs.
Well, it looks like your bottom stair is too short already.
That's an illusion. It's,
Oh, okay.
it's actually the highest stair. It's 13 inches high. And
How-
it's just
how
It's just
high
a
is it?
picture.
How high is it?
it's. Oh, I'm sorry. No, it's 8.5 inches high.
Okay.
So we'll have to
16
stay
inches
within
is-
code.
It's a leap.
Yeah, that was
Sorry,
right.
it's, the other stair. All the stairs are 7.5. The first one is 8.5.
Sure.
It just doesn't look that way in this picture.
It's like the rest of the houses, none of it makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, that's the issue that you're gonna wind up dealing with, because, the code requires that all of the risers be the same.
Right. And that's where he's gonna have to kind of get
Okay.
creative with how he does this and we may have to remove some parts of it.
It looks like you're also gonna come in, if you're adding 2 inches of stone to the landing, you're just gonna wanna be aware of how that affects the step in through the door as well.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah,
if that gets too short, then it becomes kind of a trip hazard more than it is,
Mm-hmm.
He's
That's
proposing potentially that very top part, taking an inch or two, actually demoing an inch or two so we can lay that bluestone down.
okay.
Mm-hmm.
Cause we want it to be thick, the really nice, like old, thick, 2 or 3
Mhm.
inch
Yeah.
bluestone.
Yeah.
And you're right, it would just look weird, and it would potentially be a trip issue.
Well, but don't you have like 8 inches at the top? In other words, is the saddle for the entrance door level with the top of the platform?
No, it rises 4 inches, there's a piece of sandstone there
Okay,
that rises 4 inches.
4 inches.
Yeah,
All right, so then, realistically, you can add the 2 inches of bluestone, which will take up 2 inches, and then basically you have a beveled saddle
right,
Potentially.
to take up the difference.
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Well, the only problem is that, I guess it's, if you do that and basically wind up adding, the 2 inches to each tread, then at least you sort of maintain your 7.5 inch, right? That's 7.5 inch.
7.5, yeah.
Riser until you get to the bottom.
Right, the bottom is the issue. The bottom is the issue.
Mason knows this, right, these issues, so.
Yeah, yeah.
It's, I'm just trying to think, how do you solve that issue, because ultimately, the riser at the bottom needs to match the risers all the way up. So
Right.
if you're raising everything 2 inches, you're fine until you get to the bottom one. But if you, let's say, chisel out the concrete tread and then, put the bluestone instead, then you have an 8.5 inch riser here, and then a 9.5 inch riser is the next one.
And you have to have that uniformity.
Yeah.
So he was kind of talking about like getting creative where you add half inch and an inch at different portions of the way up to try to even it out, and maybe explore different thicknesses of the bluestone. And says he's got a solution.
I'm sure he does. I'm sure we could ask him and he might be able to tell us, and we just don't know enough about.
I guess, I mean, I don't know how everybody else, how comfortable they feel about giving an approval on, we're really not gonna know what it is until he starts working on it, right?
I think so. I mean, we're pretty. I think we're pretty set on the design. I mean, we know it is going to be brick and bluestone on the materials and the look, but the dimensions are going to vary by an inch or so.
Well, the buildings inspector will oversee the code.
Right, but I guess the
requirements.
question is that we don't know what he's gonna do
You're
in order
asking
to
how
meet
that
the
will
building code.
affect the aesthetics. I'm just trying to think of examples of what, I mean, I'm thinking about, the Dollaride House on, what P Street is that? Parsonage? I think it's Parsonage.
Parsonage,
Yeah.
21.
We asked them to start removing the siding, see what they find, and then we would do a site visit to determine the status of the siding, to examine what original material may be revealed. Do you
Right.
think we should take a similar approach to this stoop? Because we kind of don't know what's going to be done until there's some examination and
But yeah, except the difference in this case is that this isn't
throwing out there. Yeah.
existing fabric that we're trying to retain.
Yeah.
So I would think that what the building inspector would essentially need is just, the only thing that the mason can provide us before the work begins that we could then relate to the building inspector would just be a drawing, an exact drawing of what he's gonna do.
Yeah.
That's not something that masons typically do.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I
That's the problem.
I understand that, but I guess, my concern is that, I just would like to know how he plans on doing it.
Right, no, I do too. I think that and we can
And-
certainly
and-
approve the materials and the the principle of it, but I just don't know what we would then hand over to Greg.
Who's the
Well, that just said,
He'd be
I mean,
happy
there
to-
are other things which I have no problem
He's trying.
reviewing and approving.
Out of state.
Yeah, but I'm, the thing about this is that the stair is right at the sidewalk, and
Right.
it's right there in your face. And, I mean, if he varies the thickness of the stone, I think that would be something that I think would be a problem for me. And so, there are a lot of different ways that it can be done. I'd just like to see what it is that he's planning on doing. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think anybody has any problem with the approach, even though, as, our previous applicant said, brick tile tends, the thing that you may have a problem with, as far as the brick tile, well, there are two things. One is that, in fact, you're now gonna project maybe 2 inches onto the sidewalk. And I guess my question is that gonna require permission from the village? Because if you look at the sidewalk in front of this building, it's kind of narrow as it is. Have you talked to the village at all about that?
We did, yeah.
And they're fine with
He
that?
said 1.5 inches shouldn't be an issue.
Jeff said that or Greg said that?
Jeff.
Okay,
I mean, the other thing is like, there's, you could tell us that we need to demo it, and we would demo it and rebuild it. but
No, I mean, I think that, I have to agree that, realistically, the bluestone, for it to be for it to be appropriate, would, 2 inches is what you're dealing with. It just that, because of the issue as far as the consistency of the risers, I'd like to see how he wants to do it. And it doesn't have to be a drawing, it could be a photograph, and he says, over here, I'm gonna bring down the concrete 4 inches, over here, it'll be 3 inches, and so on. Some sort of explanation of how he proposes on doing it.
sure.
Just to make sure that the visual things that we're looking for, we know what we're gonna get as a end product, and 2, that he's thought it out.
Yep.
I mean, I have dealt with a lot of contractors, no, hey, got it covered, got it all worked out.
Yeah, no, I mean, he drew this, so, he's happy to come in, and meet with you.
Yeah, he offered to come, we should have.
He's like a 6th generation mason from England.
Okay.
He's worked on like churches and castles, and he's unbelievably talented. So I'm not appealing to authority, but he would be happy to come in and just talk.
Well, what we would need is something that we can give to the building inspector.
As a guiding principle, Al, since there is going to have to be some change, there's going to have to be some way of making up the distances from step to step. Do you think it would be better to have a full 2-inch piece of stone on each riser and then make it up in the brickwork, rather than adjust the thicknesses of the stone, or do a combination of the two?
I think if you adjust the thickness of the stone, you're talking about the tread.
Yeah,
I think
itself.
that would look terrible.
Okay.
I think it needs to be consistent, but I don't know what the existing tread is. I mean, if it is concrete and he can just knock it off and chisel down to the distances that he needs, then, the installation will be relatively simple.
Yeah, that's
I
what I
don't
think
know.
ultimately is probably what's going to happen.
Huh?
I think that's probably what's going to happen.
All right,
I
but
can try to get him on the phone.
ultimately, I need something I can give to the
Sure.
building inspector.
Sure.
So.
Okay.
And as for guidance, I guess what I was trying to get at is that we would like to see the actual stone tread remain the same thickness all the way up.
Okay.
So
So we can make adjustments to the concrete
right.
surface itself.
Yeah, because
bluestone should be the
you have
same.
to remember that
Right.
the bluestone will probably be set on mortar, so he also has some leeway with the mortar.
Thick for
Right.
more and everything else.
Right.
And then ultimately it'll all be covered up by the brick veneer. Now, the only thing about the brick veneer, which I will throw out because the last applicant happened to talk about it, and it's been my experience, is that you're talking about a location where it's going to be wet often, and during the winter you may have a problem with freeze thaw.
Yes.
So,
Yeah, he's
But-
explained to us that veneer doesn't have the same longevity.
right.
We would, in an ideal world, as purists, would love to just rebuild it, but
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, I think,
Yeah.
I think I'm willing to go along with what he's proposing. It just, like I said, I just don't feel comfortable somebody saying, don't worry about it, it'll be okay.
Yep. Would it be possible to, would this require coming back in a month, or would it be possible to provide that diagram as a follow-up?
We have a voting session on the 25th.
Yeah. On the 25th.
Okay.
25th is filling up very rapidly.
Yeah. I would love it if we could get in on the 25th.
Okay.
Um,
All right, so that's the front stoop. Let's move on to the
Okay.
railing.
The railing, pretty straightforward, guy up in Kingston who, third generation iron worker who does this.
This is the design he's
We-
doing for.
We went around town and kind of looked at some other wrought iron railings that were, you know, of that period, and tried to come up with something that is a little more decorative, but also allows you to see. And that's what we like about the wrought iron option, is it allows you to see the building and doesn't block the building, whereas a wood sawn balustrades would really, I think, kind of hide the
Mhm.
structure. So we were just, this is kind of a design that we landed on that we reminded us of things that we'd seen in town, and we'd actually sent a photograph of something in town to him, and then he,
Main Street,
on Main Street,
yeah,
yeah.
recognize it.
I've got a, yeah,
Are-
I've got, it might have
Are
been,
those double pickets, or is that a big?
they're double,
They're double, okay, yeah.
yeah. So, and he's gonna have to begin work on this after all of the stoop work is done, so he can set those into the bluestone.
Okay. All right, why don't we move on, get an overview of what you're proposing?
Gutters, we wanna do, you know, the old school 6-inch rounds. I just couldn't find the brothers, or I guess the brothers who just do gutters, or the gutter guys around, they didn't have a,
I asked them for a
Cut
cut sheet,
sheet.
they didn't know
They just
what
sent
I
us
was
these
talking about,
pictures.
so.
they said it's a copper gutter. But we have kind of Home Depot white 4-inch
Yeah.
downspouts right now that really don't
Are not good.
look good, and they're right on the street.
Okay.
So what exactly, so you have it, so it's just for the leader then? So you have a Yankee gutter
We have
that then
Yankee
just
gutter.
goes into this
To
leader?
Yeah,
Okay, so you would just be replacing it with a 6-inch round,
6-inch
Mhm.
rounds, yeah.
same location, in the front and in the back?
In the front and in the back, yep. Shutters, painful to see them go, but working with Timberline, to do, you know, cedar. We're gonna do operable louvered shutters, which is what I think they were. And we're gonna use the original, I didn't include it on here, but the original Acme hardware. We have all of the
They're
original
still
hardware,
on there, yeah.
just not the shutters themselves.
And which windows are you gonna be putting them on?
They'll be on all, they'll be on all the 5 here on the front, and then the 2 on the side, which I don't have a side picture right now, but
These two here?
Yeah.
exactly, yeah. So anything that can be seen from the street.
And the gable end window?
Yeah, we were going back and forth on the
Yeah.
gable, on the,
That's gonna be kinda hard to
It's
fit
a
in.
tight fit, yeah.
Right, with the,
it would look nice to maybe try to, yeah.
okay.
I think when,
I don't think it's
it would be kinda
necessary.
strange
Yeah.
to do a shutter there. I mean, it's not that unusual that shutters are just on the front facade,
Mhm.
so I think going around the corner is fine.
Yeah, and you know, your house, the facade faces west, which is where they'd wanna close the light at the end of the day.
Right,
Right.
right, yeah, we want them to be operable, louvered. The door, we've done some kind of exploratory poking around. We believe the door was reframed, to accept a modern door, and in looking back, what's kind of behind what they reframed, it's pretty clear that there were double doors here
Yeah.
at one time to fit this. There's just really no other scenario. There really wasn't enough width to have side lights and a narrow door.
Yeah, a lot of
so-
doors in the village were replaced that way, just to accommodate a standard size door.
That's right.
When, you know, if you walk around the village, and I'm sure you have, there's more like, you know, they're narrower double doors. You see
Yes.
those everywhere.
Yes.
Yes, that's exactly what we think.
Yeah. it's
And we
probably
went up to
mostly-
Zaborski's and found a beautiful
Yeah.
door that's probably a little later than the house itself,
Late
but
time.
we're gonna restore it. We're gonna use the salvage glass and just bring it back to life and use brass hardware.
It
Nice
has
nail
all
slot.
its original
Yeah, I love the
hardware
nail
in it,
slot.
Yeah. That was painted over, but it's brass.
Yeah,
So I just popped them in the entryway so you guys could see what it
Yeah.
kind of looked like.
thank you.
That they fit.
Okay, you're keeping the transom.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, we had that restored and functioning now.
So it looks like these doors are a little shorter than the one that's in there now. So basically you're just gonna make up for that thickness between the transom and the top of the door with just additional,
That's actually,
or is that just the way that
That's
they're kinda
the,
leaning?
no, yeah, that's the, that distance, we found the exact right size door, cause that, what's between there is the header, not the header, it's the, it's actually what's holding up the,
Right, like the base of the door, the single door.
they just stuck that trim
Right.
on the outside of it.
So you
when they-
can't
to
line it.
Oh, I
reframe the
see.
Yeah,
door.
So
you
that's
can't line up
not
the doors the way they
structural of
would.
the
But
door.
behind that
Sit in it.
trim is the actual header,
Gotcha.
that piece of wood that holds up the whole
Right,
thing.
okay.
Mhm.
So it's like, it was the perfect size door.
Lucky.
Yeah.
Yes. Um, so, the stoop hood, we have that in the architectural drawings as well. We found some inspiration from a hood up in, Hudson.
Mhm.
So,
Just out of curiosity, and
Yeah.
to me, it's not a big deal. The brackets, I mean, most hoods that I've seen usually have brackets on either side, but it doesn't look like you have that.
we have them here, I blew it up and it doesn't, we were gonna match the brackets that are on
Gable.
our soffit, on our gabled roof.
Well, no, you know, what I'm talking about is this
Yeah.
bracket here on the side,
Yes.
Oh,
This,
and that would normally be here.
yeah, this is what we're going for. This is not exactly what, we just wanted to show the dimensions and how far out
How
it came.
far out,
Cause
yeah.
this one doesn't come out as far, but we're going for these nice corbel, like, we're gonna just copy those wood sawn corbels and,
This is to go over the main door or the side door?
the
Main
main
door.
door, that side door is no longer there, the previous owner put in a window,
Oh, that's right, yeah.
yeah. Just to protect from, the rain as you're coming in and, provide some protection for that door if we're gonna restore it, cause it
Finishes it nicely.
the west side of the house takes a huge beating from the mountain, wind in winter.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess the other question that I have, has to do with the renderings that we see.
Yeah.
It looks like it's a shed roof, but this has a,